So the Battle of Kamino is one of the most significant battles to take place near the middle of the Clone Wars. It saw Republic forces defending the homeworld of the Clone Army. Today we'll take a look at some of the strategies and units involved in this battle. I'm Colin, and this is Sci-Fi Deep Dive. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to head down below and hit that subscribe button. So as I mentioned, the Battle of Kamino is one of the most significant battles to take place near the middle of the war. The Separatists were trying to attack the obviously key strategic target of Kamino. Kamino is the birthplace of the Republic's clone army, and the home of the cloning facilities which were producing future units for the Grand Army of the Republic. So if the Separatists were able to knock Kamino out of the war, it would prevent the Republic from being able to manufacture more soldiers and replace troops that had been killed in combat. And its significance was not lost on the Republic. The Republic definitely understood the strategic value of this world, and thus it had a massive defensive fleet. On top of that, it had a significant garrison of troops on the ground, and they could call from the troops that were in training to assist in the fighting. On top of that, the planet was defended by several listening posts, like what we see on the Rishi Moon. These listening posts would keep an eye out for Separatist fleets inbound for these crucial worlds, and would give the Republic a little bit of notice ahead of time. It was outposts like these that gave the Republic ample warning ahead of the Separatist attack. And thanks to that warning, the Republic were able to mount a sufficient defense in orbit. This involved a large fleet of Venator-class Star Destroyers. Specifically 11 Venator-class Star Destroyers, 2 Acclamators, and 2 Architans-class light cruisers. Now this is a substantial Republic fleet, seeing the other fleets utilized during the war. And the Separatist fleet was equally large, however not nearly as well equipped. However, the Separatists did have a little trick up their sleeves. You see, their vessels were not designed necessarily to survive the battle, but instead to shed pieces which would fall into Kamino's atmosphere, delivering their soldiers to the waters below. Once they splashed down in the ocean, the Separatists could begin constructing their war machines, and eventually carry out an attack from underneath against Tipoca City, the city that contains the Republic cloning facilities. When the Separatists carried out this attack, they used a number of Trident-class assault ships. These were notable because they were capable of operating underwater as well as in space. These assault ships could literally climb under the structures of Tipoca City, and deploy droid forces directly into Republic facilities. And while the nature of this attack was discovered right before it was initiated, there wasn't really enough time for the Republic to counter it, and so for the most part it caught Republic forces completely off guard. So while it looked like on paper the battle in orbit was going well, they were actually basically being flanked. With droids deployed in Republic facilities, the objective was not to destroy these facilities necessarily, but instead take out a few key resources, specifically attacking the infrastructure necessary for producing more clones, as well as stealing valuable war data. Some of this included things like the genetic makeup of the clone troopers themselves. This could be useful for engineering a bioweapon that specifically targets clones. However, Republic forces at these facilities were numerous. Clone troopers that were being rotated on and off of Kamino found themselves thrust into combat against the Separatist assault. And on top of that, a lot of cadets who weren't quite ready for combat would find themselves in the thick of it. Suddenly, the objective became defending their home. You see, Kamino is the closest thing the clone troopers have to a home. All of them were born and raised there. So when the Separatists carried out this massive assault, it hit a lot of clone troopers very personally. And the troopers defending Kamino really felt like they were fighting for the closest thing they had to a home. Which is why we see valiant fighting not just from the fully grown clone troopers that were participating in the battle, but from cadets who were called up to fight at the last minute. Ultimately, thanks to the large defensive force on the world, the Jedi leading the Republic forces, and a number of clones who made heroic sacrifices during this battle, the Separatists were unable to achieve any of their major objectives. In fact, it appears like a majority of the cloning facilities were relatively untouched. They were also unable to steal information on the genetic makeup of the clones. This ultimately prevented the Separatists from getting a biological advantage on Republic troops. Unlike a lot of other battles which shook the galactic population and changed their feelings about the war, this battle really impacted the way the clones themselves felt about the war they were fighting. It became a lot more personal. The Separatists had attacked, like I mentioned, their home. And from that point on, to a lot of the clone troopers, they weren't just fighting for someone else's homeworld when they were fighting on another planet. They were fighting for a homeworld the way that they fought for their homeworld when the Separatists attacked Kamino. Ultimately, sacrifices during this battle will be remembered all the way through to the end of the war. For example, when Clone Trooper 99, a defective clone trooper who was not pushed into combat service, found himself among his brothers fighting on their homeworld, he opted to join the fighting in any way he could, which ultimately was more of a logistical role. And unfortunately, during that combat, he was killed. His memory would be carried on in other clone units, for example, Clone Unit 99, also known as the Bad Batch. And if you want to learn more about the Bad Batch as a unit, I'll leave a link up here to my video all about Clone Force 99. And I want you to let me know down in the comments what you think of the Separatist strategy used during the battle. Was it a unique and intelligent way of evading the Republic fleet in orbit, Or was it a stupid strategy that the Republic should have seen coming? And last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, head down below, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. So for Sci-Fi Deep Dive, I'm Colin, and I will see you next time.